So, one of the things with this credential is that at the end of this credential, you are expected to commission. And as part of that commission, you will be creating a project. And that project should be one of change. And when I say that, I mean that it's not just to take this credential and, okay, great, I'm done, but you need to be able to, as a director, as a leader in your program, to um, manage change in your program. And so this is only course 2, but I do want to introduce this to you in case you have not been introduced to it before. So one of the things I want to talk about today is how people react to change, and you can see that this is based on the dynamics of change as formulated by Ken Blanchard. So, whenever you ask people to do things differently, you disrupt their habitual way of doing things. This tends to make people feel awkward or uncomfortable as they struggle to eliminate the old responses and learn the new. Think back to your own experience, and you will discover this theme. Whether it's something like learning to use a computer, or the first time picking up your infant, or dealing with a new reporting relationship, recall the self consciousness that you probably felt. People want to get it right and fear that they will appear inadequate. So, even when you're dealing with positive changes such as promotions or those that result in more autonomy or more authority, people will concentrate on what they will be losing. As a change leader, you need to acknowledge the loss of the old ways and not get frustrated in what may seem to be an irrational or tentative response to change. It is said that resistance to change is often due to a fear of some loss. Some people go through a chain of emotional responses to an experience of loss. First, they try to deny that the loss has occurred. Once they accept the loss as real, they may express anger toward whomever or whatever caused the loss. As their anger diminishes, they may try to figure out ways they can avoid the acceptance of the loss by bargaining. If bargaining fails, they may become depressed for a time, depending on the extent of the loss. But the final step in this chain of emotional response is acceptance. Everyone feels or wants to feel that their situation is unique and special. Unfortunately, this tends to increase the sense of isolation for people undergoing change. It is important for the change leader to be proactive and gentle in showing that the employee's situation is understood. If employees see you as emotionally and practically supportive during the tough times, your position will be enhanced and the change will be easier. On a personal level, people who undergo too much change within too short a time will become dysfunctional and, in some cases, may become physically sick. While some changes are beyond our control, it is important not to pile change upon change upon change. While changes such as downsizing bring opportunity to do other positive things, the timing of additional changes is important. If you are contemplating introducing changes that are under your control, it may be a good idea to bounce your ideas off of employees. A good question to ask is, how would you feel if blank? Now, some people thrive in change. It's exciting to them. Others don't. It's threatening to them. Understand that any change will have supporters and people who have difficulty adapting. In time, no matter how people react to change adversely and resist, eventually most will tend to come on board. Consider that those people who are more ready for the change can influence others who are less ready. Open discussion allows this influence process to occur. So, people perceive that changes take time and effort, even if it has the long term effect of reducing workload. They are correct that there is a learning time for most change and that this may affect their work. It is also important for change leaders to acknowledge that this may occur and to offer practical support if possible. Now, if people perceive that you are not serious about doing things the new way, they will revert to the old way. Sometimes this will be in the open, and sometimes this will be covert. The leader must remind people that there is a new course and that the new course will remain. Coaching towards the new ways is also important. So, what would you do differently in the way that you do your job or live your life if you were completely unafraid? How would these new actions improve your situation? That's something to think about. Once we are able to accept and adjust to a change, we are at the beginning of a new journey, the journey of gain, where we are able to imagine a positive future. The next step on the journey is to put that positive vision into action and consistently monitor the progress and celebrate every small step in the right direction. When the change has been accomplished, acknowledge those who have been on the journey with you for their commitment and willingness to change. And this is where we got that from. But last but not least, it is important for leaders to anticipate and respond to employees' concerns and feelings, whether they are expressed in terms of practical issues or emotional responses. When planning for and anticipating change, consider a detailed reaction analysis. Try to identify the kinds of reactions and questions that employees will have and prepare your responses. Remember that the success of any change tests, remember that the success of any change rests with the ability of the leaders to address both the emotional and practical issues in that order. And one question to ask yourself is, how will we know if a change is an improvement? Make sure that you get feedback